What's up, Interweb? I thought since somebody forgot to remind me to turn on the recorder last night, Miss Miranda, Miss Miranda, I'll do another recording and put it up here today and go over what we did last night. Okay, the first thing we did was solving quadratic equations. Now, quadratic equations are always in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. They're always in this form. So if we have y squared minus y minus 20 equals 0, we're going to factor this. Now remember, the answers that we get, I don't know what they're going to call them on the final exam, but they're three things. They're either roots, zeros, or solutions. O-N-S. Roots, zeros, and solutions. They all mean the same thing. They all mean what is the answer. Now we're going to factor this. Now when you factor it, it's y plus 4 times y minus 5 equals 0. Now what we do here is we take each one of the factors and set it equal to 0. So we have y plus 4 equals 0 and y minus 5 equals 0. Here we subtract 4 from each side, so y is going to equal negative 4. And here we add 5 to each side, y equals 5. Those are our two answers, the two roots, two zeros, or two solutions. And if you want to do this on your handy dandy graphing calculator, first thing is you turn it on, go to y equals, and we put in this equation, y squared. Now y is a variable, right? Now the calculator doesn't recognize y as a variable. It uses x. Now x is this one right here, where it says x, t, theta, and n. That's the variable. So x squared minus x minus 20. Now remember, do yourself a favor. Before you leave the screen, look up here and make sure you entered it correctly. Now go to graph. And you see where the parabola crosses the x-axis. This is the x-axis. Where it crosses the x-axis, these are the zeros, the roots, or the solutions. So here is negative 4, and that one is, just count the tick marks. They're all equal to 1 and 5. If you have a graphing, otherwise just do it like that. Now, if we have this, I'm sorry, I'm going to go kind of fast because you have the ability here to stop and rewind and like that. So if we have 16x squared minus 20 equals 5. Now remember, the first thing you do is you set these equations equal to 0. So we're going to subtract 5 from each side. And we have 16x squared minus 25 equals 0. You can see that both of these terms are perfect squares, and it's subtracting. So this is the difference of two squares. Difference of two squares is called a conjugate. J-U-G-A-T-E. That name isn't particularly important, but you're going to see it. Okay, now what we do is we have we take the square root of this, what number times itself? So 4x plus 5, again, the square root of 25, times 4x minus 5 equals 0. Now we set each one of the factors equal to 0. So we have 4x plus 5 equals 0, and 4x minus 5 equals 0. Subtract 5 from each side. 4x equals negative 5. Divide by 4. X equals negative 5 over 4. Here we add 5 to each side. So 4x excuse me, equals 5. Divided by 4. X equals 5 over 4. This is probably more like what you're going to see on the final, where you won't be able to use your graphing calculator and get the exact answer, because it's not going to show you exactly where it crosses. Where it crosses the x-axis. Mm-hmm. Now let me do another one that's a little bit different, but really not much. If you have, well, I got my big fat hand in the way. A squared minus 22a plus 121. This is also a perfect equals 0. This is also a perfect square. Or not also, but this is a perfect square. This is, if you were to factor this, it would be a minus 11 and a minus 11 equals 0. So you can see we're only going to have one root here. A minus 11 equals 0. Add 11 to each side. So a is going to equal 11. Now, how can that be? How can a parabola only cross the axis, the x-axis at one place? It's going to look like this. Now, 11 is going to be over here somewhere. So the parabola is going to come down, touch the x-axis in just one place. That's called a tangent. Okay? Okay. Now, if we have this, if we have 5b squared minus, well, I got to figure out a better way of doing this so my hand's not in the way. Let's see if I do this. See if that'll work. 5b squared minus 5b equals 0. Is there anything we can factor out of both? First of all, we're already set to 0. So what can we factor out of both of these? 5b, open, b minus 1. Now again, do yourself a favor here and do this backwards to make certain that you've done it right. 5b times b is 5b squared, that's right. And 5b times negative 1 is negative 5b, so we're correct. Now we have two factors, here and here. And we set each one of those equal to 0. 5b equals 0. And b minus 1 equals 0. Here we divide by 5. So b is going to equal 0. 0 divided by 5 is 0. And here we're going to add 1 to each side. So b is going to equal 1. Can 0 be one of the roots? Absolutely. What's going to happen here is the parabola is going to come down, cross at 0, and then go right back up at 1. So here and here are our roots. Zeros are solutions. What could be more fun? Okay, and if you can't factor it for some reason, it's a prime or something like that. If you can't factor it, what you have to do is use the quadratic formula. Now, the quadratic formula looks absolutely horrible. I don't know what it is other than I'm just stupid, but I cannot remember this formula for some reason. The quadratic formula, LA, is this. It's negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. I know it looks terrible. It's really not bad. It just looks bad. Okay. So there's our handy dandy quadratic formula. And remember, quadratics are always in the form, oh, stupid, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. This is the form that quadratics are in. So if you're given this, x squared plus 2x minus 15 equals 0, this is our a. Our a is actually 1, we just don't write it. Our b is 2, and our c is negative 15. So a equals 1, b equals 2, coefficient of x, and c is negative 15. Okay, now we just plug those numbers in to our handy dandy formula, and we get this, negative b, so negative 2, b is 2, plus or minus the square root of b squared, again, b is 2, squared minus 4, times a is 1, times c is negative 15, all over 2 times 1. Excuse me. Now, if you want, you can put this in the calculator, and it'll spit out the answer. This is nothing more than an order of operation. So we have this. We have equals negative 2. Now, first of all, I'm just going to do the plus the square root of 2 squared is 4. Minus 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 15 is a positive 60 all over 2. And this will equal negative 2 plus the square root of 64 over 2. It's going to be equal to negative 2 plus 8 over 2, which is 6 over 2, which is 3. Now again, if you want to add, put this in your handy dandy calculator, let me show you. First you turn it on, then you do 2, where's squared minus 4 times 1 times a negative 15 is 64. Okay, That'll do that for you. Now you just plug that into the 16 and just do the arithmetic there. Now we have the same thing. The only difference is instead of plus, there we have a minus. So we have -2 minus the square root of 64 all over 2. So this equals -2 minus 8 over 2, which is -10 over 2, which is -5. Oh, you're probably thinking, what the heck is going on here with this plus or minus stuff? What is the square root of 9? It's plus or minus 3, because 3 times 3 is 9, right? And -3 times -3 is also 9. Okay, that's why we have to have plus or minus here. Now what? I know that the quadratic formula looks terrible. Get yourself one of these calculators or one of the big graphing calculators, and it'll do all the rough stuff for you. It'll do all this misery. All this part here will do that for you. Okay. What if we have this? Let me do one more of these. Might do 2 more. Never can tell. So y squared plus 3y plus 2 equals 0. Remember, this is our A, this is our B, and that's our C. So A is 1, little a. B is 3. And C is, what is it, 2. Sorry about that. This is A. Okay, so it's just a matter of plugging in the numbers. Again, our formula is -b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. That's our handy dandy formula. Now we just plug in the numbers. So we have -b. So we have -3. B is 3. Plus or minus the square root of b squared. So 3 squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. Okay, so let's do the plus first. So -3 plus the square root of, is that 9 minus 8? Is that right? Let's see. Come on, boy, think. -4. Yeah. So it's 9 minus 8 over 2. Now this equals -3 times the square root of 1 over 2. The square root of 1 is 1. So we have -3 times 1 over 2. Is that right? Now -3 times 1. Oh, I'm sorry. That was a plus in there. So -3 plus 1. Stupid boy. Everybody see that my mistake here? It should have been plus. Sorry, I'll do better. So we have -3 plus 1 is -2 over 2. So one of our roots is -1. Now we do the same thing here, except it's this is negative. So we have -3. Now instead of plus, we're going to have a minus the square root of 1 over 2. This is negative 3 minus 1 over 2. So this is negative 4 over 2, negative 2. Okay? Okay. Y'all had enough of those? I thought so. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, the Pythagorean Theorem. What could be more fun than the Pythagorean Theorem? This is something you might actually use in real life. Probably won't, but who knows? A-G-O-R-E-A. Pythagorean Theorem. Theorem. This is named after the man that I don't know that you could say, and he developed it about 350 BC, about 350 years before Jesus was born. I mean, this was a long time ago. Now, this only works only for right triangles, RGHT, triangles. Only for right triangles. The F slash here means 4. Sorry. Now, the Pythagorean theorem is this. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. These are lowercase letters because lowercase in a triangle or angles are sides, and capital letters are for the angles. So if we have a nice, pretty right triangle, pretend this is a right triangle. It'll have a little box in the corner, or you'll be told that it's a right triangle. Now, if this is 3 and this is 4, these are called legs. This one's A, this one's B. The hypotenuse, the longest side, is called C. Now, A and B can be either one. It doesn't make any difference which one's which. But the hypotenuse must be C. Call these feet. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Our A is 3, so 3 squared plus 4 squared equals X squared. So 9 plus 16 equals X squared. 9 and 16, 25 equals X squared. Now, how do we undo a square? Square root. So then X equals, now does it equal plus or minus 5? No, because this is distance. Distance is always positive. Even if you're going backwards, it's still going to be positive, except maybe in bizarro world. Now, these are pretty simple and straightforward. Let me do another one here. If you have another pretty right triangle, pretend this is a right triangle. Yes, I know my drawing is terrible. This is 5 feet, this is 12 feet, and the hypotenuse is X feet. Again, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Our A is 5 or 12. It doesn't make any difference. These two are interchangeable. A and B. This one has to be C. So A squared is 5 squared plus 12 squared equals X squared. 25 plus 144 equals X squared. 25, 144, 169 equals X squared, square root. So X will be equal to 13. Now look, when you're doing these things, especially if you're using a calculator, you have to ask yourself, does it make sense? Is it reasonable? If you don't ask yourself anything else, ask yourself, say, self, is the hypotenuse the longest side? Is it the longest side here? Yes. If you came out with 5, 12, and 10, something's wrong. Remember, the hypotenuse has to be the longest side. Now, the only one of these things that really gets difficult, or not really difficult, it's just a little different, and that is if you have pretend that's a right triangle. If this is 17 feet and this one is 8 feet, how much is that one? A squared plus B squared equals C squared. What's our A squared? X squared plus 8 squared. Okay, these are the legs. And that one, these can be either one. Doesn't make any difference. But C has to be the hypotenuse. 17 squared. So we have x squared plus 8 squared equals 17 squared. So we can subtract 8 squared. Let the calculator do this for you if you want. Okay, you don't have to make the squares out of each one of those. Just first of all, turn it on. So we're given 17 squared minus 8 squared. 17 squared minus 8 squared is 225. So x squared equals 225. Square root x equals, I think that's 15. Take the square root of the answer, 15, yeah. Does it make sense? Is it reasonable? 8, 15, and the hypotenuse is 17. It's the longest side, so yes, we are correct. Okay. That is all. Okay, I'll try to get this up on YouTube also within the next, today is, what is today? Oh, today's Friday. So it's about almost 10:30. I'll try to get this up by noon for you. Y'all take care. Hope you have or will have or did have a happy Easter. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye, Bonds.